Okay, I know I'm about a week late, but I finally got around to seeing The Materialists, and I have thoughts. A lot of them. Heads up, there will be spoilers throughout this entire video, so if you haven't seen the movie, I don't recommend going forward. Materialists is Celine Song's follow-up to the Oscar-nominated 1824 romance hit Past Lives. The film follows Lucy, a New York City matchmaker who has built a career helping others find love, despite being voluntarily celibate and focused on her personal rule to only date wealthy men. At a wedding celebrating one of her successful matches, Lucy encounters two men who challenge her perspectives. Harry, a charming financier who pursues her despite her initial hesitations, and John, her struggling actor ex-boyfriend who represents a love that she left behind due to financial strain. The film delves into Lucy's journey of self-discovery as she navigates the fallout of her career challenges, her relationships with Harry and John, and her evolving understanding of what truly matters in life. Balancing humor, drama, and romance, Materialist paints a nuanced portrait of modern love, ambition, and the courage it takes to redefine happiness. Okay, first off, I'm just gonna go right ahead and file this under not for me. My first note to my girlfriend Harley when we walked out of the theater, and mind you, this isn't a word I ever actively want to use when describing a viewing experience, was that this movie was kind of boring to me. In my view, it kind of hovers around this 55 mile per hour zone without ever really ramping up or down, just kind of steadily cruising along. It's a metaphor I've used in the past and I will probably continue using. The film exists in this long lineage of romance dramas, and I use the word drama because the marketing material might lead you to believe that this is a comedy, and I don't really think it's trying to be one. But think of the works of James L. Brooks, Nancy Meyers, Nora Ephron, Woody Allen, Mike Nichols, maybe. And thematically, you could tell Celine Song was inspired by Jane Austen stories. Materialist delves into the intersection of professional life and personal relationships, the opulent urban settings, witty dialogue, and aspirational yet relatable tone. That is, maybe it's relatable to some of you out there. We'll get to that in just a bit. My next note about this movie was more of a complaint with the genre as a whole, so take it or leave it. But in the same way that in most zombie movies, the characters in them have never seen a zombie movie, and so they're all like, what's happening? And we're all like, dude, you're in a zombie movie. Those are clearly zombies. This film features characters who feel like they've never seen a single rom-com or romantic drama in their life. I felt that the overemphasis on expounding to the audience and to each other the primal and economic factors that lead two people to love one another was a little insulting to the viewer. Much of the dialogue came across in one way or another like someone saying, "Let me tell you about love," and then saying the most obvious shit that anyone who's ever seen a movie would be able to grasp. Now, granted, I will concede that the candidness with which Lucy talks about ticking boxes, the idea of love being a math problem that you could solve, marriage being a business transaction, and the material nature of dating in the 21st century was slightly refreshing. To hear someone say it all out loud was pretty cool. Like, if you're not 6 feet tall and wealthy, it's going to be an uphill climb to find the one. And spoiler alert, I don't know if you could tell because I'm sitting down on all of these videos, but as a 5'6" gentleman, all the height talk in this movie was a little bit dispiriting. But luckily my girlfriend loves me for me, and she's like 5 feet tall, so in her eyes I'm basically 6 feet tall. Anyway, Lucy's partially self-aware nature was also cool to see, like during the flashback of her and John fighting in the street, which is super annoying, and I would not have loved that if I was any of the cars behind them. She says that she hates that she resents him for not being independently wealthy. She wants to find it charming that they eat from a halal cart on their anniversary instead of some subterranean fine dining restaurant. But she knows that she doesn't. She is materialistic, and the tug of war between having preferences and being realistic can be a heavy load to bear. But the film makes sure to spread that load. The burden of unrealistic standards isn't reduced to any one gender. Women are depicted as wanting wealth and height and comfort, while men are depicted as wanting youth and beauty and control. It's all just a big sham. But eventually she meets Pedro Pascal's character, Harry, and Lucy is swept away into the world of opulence and decadence and those subterranean fine dining restaurants that she so badly desired. And through plenty of writerly written dialogue, we learn that Lucy is still conflicted with the core question. Does me wanting the comfort of wealth and excess make me a bad person? Does it just make me human? If I were to continue this relationship with Harry, would I be doing so because I love him, or is it another business transaction? Or is it even possible to truly love outside of your economic class without ulterior motives? I guess that was technically 4 questions, but the point is that these questions are some of the most interesting parts of the movie, but I don't know that they're very fleshed out or if they go much of anywhere. There's one other factor of this film that puts me at a distance, and I think for this I just have to be completely frank. I found it so hard to give a shit about the dating lives of these beautiful, wealthy people. I walk out of the theater, bombs are being dropped on civilians, people are being shoved in unmarked vans by federal agents, but oh no, Dakota Johnson has to choose between the rich and handsome Pedro Pascal and the poor and handsome Chris Evans. I hope you could all detect my sarcasm. By like the 3rd time, Lucy says something to the effect of, "You don't want to date me. You don't want to marry me. I'm bad news. I'm just a poor girl who makes $80,000 a year at my matchmaking job, and I can afford to live alone in Manhattan and wear designer outfits." I just wanted to grab her by the shoulders and shake her and be like, "You're Dakota Johnson. You're literally Madam Web." It's like that old Jim Gaffigan bit where he's talking about Halle Berry in Monsters Ball. He's watching it and he's going,
"Well, why doesn't she just become a model?"
That's what watching this movie was like. I felt zero relatability with the low stakes that was going on with any of these characters who wax on and on about wanting to be loved. Meanwhile, if you were to take a poll, I bet a majority of folks would trade places with them in a heartbeat. Like, yeah, I'll try my hand at the dating game while looking like Chris Evans any day. That also leads me to talk about the chemistry of the 3 leads. The charm is there for the most part, but I also gotta say, I want to say this as delicately as I can, I don't think I'm on the let's let Dakota Johnson headline Hollywood movies train. There's this affectless nature to her performance that at times comes across like she was handed the script 30 seconds before the cameras started rolling. And also, I really struggle to understand why Chris Evans' character, John, loves Lucy so much. Like, she broke up with you because you had no money. I don't know, man. That kind of sounds like a deal breaker for me on the love front. But hey, maybe we're just built different. We get virtually no backstory on them except that she dated him, then she resented him for having no money. We never actually see what they had in common, other than maybe a pipe dream of becoming an actor someday, maybe. And I kept wanting to shake Chris Evans, grab him by the shoulders and be like, "You're Chris Evans. Date someone else." Pedro Pascal, I'm cool with, except for the fact that yet again, the movie tells us you're a unicorn, instead of showing us what about him was so desirable outside of A, his wealth, and B, he's a nice guy. Gee. It must be so hard to be a rich, nice guy who wants to get married someday. Again, more sarcasm. The payoff of the Chekhov's leg lengthening surgery was an interesting touch and perhaps maybe my favorite scene of the movie. The image of Pedro Pascal squatting to be, well, my exact height was pretty charming, although Lucy coming to the conclusion that I don't love you, you don't love me, we're only together because we tick boxes, and it just sort of feels like a nothing burger of a resolution in some ways. I feel like I just have so many nitpicks about this movie. Also, like, for instance, Lucy is the top matchmaker at her company, right? A company that has been around for years, mind you. Not once does this company have a meeting, a policy, a f***ing pamphlet, or anything about the dangers of one of their clients assaulting another client. Lucy is all like, "That can happen?" Yeah, Lucy, hate to break it to you, but women sometimes get assaulted on dates. You didn't know that? That whole subplot of this movie also, for me, overshadowed the main romance plot of the film. A matchmaker grappling with the outcome of 2 people she introduced leading to an assault was effective stuff, especially due to the amazing performance from Zoe Winter. The highlight of the movie for me, you may know her from Succession. Fun fact, I actually sat next to her on the subway one time. That was pretty cool. But that whole thing is founded upon this idea that our protagonist is just oblivious to the physical risks of dating. And that was kind of where my suspension of disbelief wavered. And while I'm on this whole nitpick train of thought, you're telling me that Sophie, a 39-year-old woman living in New York City who is desperate to settle, calls Lucy, the employee of the company that she is currently suing, to come help her get rid of an angry man at her doorstep? Yeah, I mean, a little far-fetched. I get that the show Friends set unrealistic standards for friendship in New York City, but like, Sophie, You got no one else to call? Okay, this video has gone on long enough. The film has some unique qualities to it, mainly its candidness about modern dating standards and the subplot about Sophie. But ultimately, it's so hard to put on the blinders and watch this without the baggage of someone living in the real world, watching beautiful people mope around about not finding love that ticks their boxes, and then coming to the conclusion that most of us simpletons reached when we were 18 years old, that ticking boxes does not a lasting love make. If I'm being charitable to this movie, perhaps I have too much faith in young people to be that self-aware, to acknowledge their preferences and the exceedingly high standards within them. But I like to think that most people watching this are smart enough to have gleaned the message of the film a long time ago, and therefore said, yeah, no shit, when the credits began to roll. Ultimately, Materialists is a film that feels caught between its ambitions and its execution. It wants to be a sharp, introspective exploration of modern dating, materialism, and love, but its message is delivered with a bluntness that borders on condescension. The candidness about dating's transactional nature is refreshing in places, but the film often forgets to let its characters breathe beyond their archetypes or deliver its themes with any subtlety. For any viewers willing to meet this movie on its glossy, self-aware terms, there are moments of insight and solid performances, particularly Zoe Winters and Chris Evans. But for me, it mostly played like a lecture I didn't need, delivered by people I struggled to relate to. If you love sleek urban romances with a moral edge, this might be worth a watch. Otherwise, it's a decent effort, but not one that I find I'll revisit anytime soon. But what did you guys think? Let me know your thoughts on Materialist down in the comments. Do you think this was better than Past Lives? Worse than Past Lives? Where do you rank this in the Celine Song, Justin Kuritzkis love triangle series of movies that seems to be happening? I know that this channel is meant to be about positivity, and I said a lot of negative things about this movie, and I do think that there are some positives that I probably could have highlighted a little bit more. Maybe you can help me point them out down in the comments. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and hit the bell to be notified when new videos come out on this channel. Go follow me on Letterboxd where you can see what I'm watching when I'm watching them. And I will see you all next time.